Today we're going to be talking about solving proportions. So basically we need to talk about what proportions are, what proportional ratios are, so that we will be able to go to the next step and figure out how to find them. So first of all, proportional ratios are ratios with a constant rate. So basically if you have 300 milligrams per serving, and you have 1,200 milligrams per 4 servings, we want to say if those are proportional or not. So basically, if we look at this, these two ratios, we'll see that in order to get from 300 to 1,200, you have to multiply by 4, and to get from 1 to 40, you have to multiply by 4. So since both the numerator and the denominators are changing at the same rate, these two ratios are called proportional. So basically, a proportion is when you write two ratios with an equal sign. So it's just saying that this ratio is equal to this ratio. Alright, so how do you know if ratios are proportional? There are three main ways, and there are other ways to be able to figure out if two ratios are proportional. So the first way is by finding cross products. So if you think the word products, we're talking about multiplying, and we're finding an answer, and then cross means we're going cross. So think about it, you're cross-multiplying these terms. So basically, you see these two ratios, and you're going to take the denominator of one and multiply it by the numerator of the other. So 15 times 2 is going to give you 30. And then we're going to look at the other two. So then you're going to go ahead and multiply the denominator of one ratio, multiply it by the numerator of the other. So 5 times 6 is going to give you 30. So since the cross products are equal, we both got 30, then that tells us that both of these ratios are equivalent. They might not look like it, or they might not look proportional at first glance, but they are. So way number 2 is to find a common multiplier. Now what that means is that you see your two ratios, 2/5 and 6/15, and you are going to go ahead and say, well, how do I get from 2 to 6? And you're like, well, I multiply by 3. And if I have to do the same thing at the denominator, that shows that they're proportional as well. So we also had to do 5 times 3 gives you 15. Alright? And the last way is to find the same, see if they have the same unit rate. So basically, if you have 2 over 15 and 2 over 5 and 6 over 15, you're going to do 2 divided by 5. So 2 divided by 5, numerator divided by denominator, and you're going to get a decimal. In this case, it's 4/10. And then we're going to go ahead and do 6 divided by 15. 6 divided by 15, we're going to get 0.4 or 4/10. So since those are equivalent, then that just shows us that those ratios are proportional. Alright, let's go ahead and do a few examples. In our first example, first off we have 60 out of 100 and 84 out of 140. So first of all, by reading those phrases, we need to go ahead and come up with a ratio. So we have 60 out of 100, and then we have 84 out of 140. So we're going to go ahead and try to use these methods that we talked about before to figure out if these are proportional or not. So first of all, what we can do is do cross products. We can multiply these two terms and multiply these two terms to see if we get the same number, and if we do, then our ratios are proportional. So first of all, let's go ahead and I'm going to do my work over here. 140 times 60. So that's going to give us 0, and then we're going to have 0, and then we're going to have 24, and then 8. So we're going to have 8,400 for the first term. So this is our first term. And then we're going to go ahead and do the math for the other. So 84 times 100. So if you do 100 times 84, you are going to get 8,400. And since both of these are the same, it shows us that yes, they are proportional. And you're going to have to explain. So one way is that we can say yes, the cross products are equivalent, so the ratios are proportional. We can say it that way. You can also go ahead and enter into your calculator if you want, or do it handwritten. You can do 60 divided by 100, and then do 84 divided by 140, and then whatever those decimals are, which they should be equal in this case, you'll just say yes because the unit rates are the same. So either or you can do. Number 2, it says $12 for 16 yards and $9 for 24 yards. So first of all, we have to set up two ratios. So we have $12 for 16 yards, and we have $9 for 24 yards. And we want to see, okay, are our ratios equivalent or proportional? So I'm going to go ahead and do 12 times 24 first. We're going to do 24 times 12. We're going to get 8, 4, 0, 4, 2, we're going to get 8, 8. So we have 288 for our first two numbers multiplied together. And then we're going to find the cross products of these two numbers. We're going to have 16 times 9. So 9 times 6 gives you 54. 9 times 1 gives you 9 plus 5 gives you 14. So 144 and 288, they are not equivalent. So that shows us that both of these are not proportional. So basically you would say no, because the cross products are not the same. You could divide 12 divided by 16 and 9 divided by 24. And you could say that the no, because the unit rates are not the same. Alright, now we are going to go ahead and use this specific method by using cross multiplication to find missing terms in our proportions. So basically this says we have 16 over k equals 2 over 3. So this tells us that, first of all, I see an equal sign. So that's telling me that both of these ratios are proportional. So we can use our proportional methods to be able to figure out our missing term. So I'm going to use cross products. So first of all, I'm going to do 3 times 16, which is going to give me 48. And then I'm going to set it equal to k times 2, which is going to give us 2k. So now we have 48 is equal to 2 times k. So this is now just a one-step equation to solve for our variable. So since 2 is multiplied by k, in order to solve for k by itself, we want to divide by 2, because that's the dividing is the inverse of multiplying. And then we're going to divide by 2 over here as well. So these 2's are going to cancel, and we're going to have k equals, then we have 48 divided by 2. So if you do 48 divided by 2, you're going to get 24. So that tells us that k is equal to 24. You can also, if you're not sure if you're right or not, you can go ahead and plug that back into the equation and see if it works. And it does. Alright, let's go ahead and look at this equation. We have 2 over 6 is equal to 5 over h. So we're going to use the cross products method as well. So we're going to go ahead and first start with h times 2, which is going to give us 2h. And we're going to set that equal to 6 times 5, which is going to give us 30. And now we need to go ahead and just do a one-step equation to solve for h. So since 2 times h, the multiplication, we are going to go ahead and do the inverse, which is division. So we're going to divide by 2 so we can get h by itself. And we're going to see that h is equal to 15. Alright, let's go ahead and look at this equation over here. We have 10 over k is equal to 2.5 or 2.5 over 4. So we're going to go ahead and do the same process, the cross multiplication, to solve for our missing variable k. So we're going to do 4 times 10, which is going to give us 40, is equal to k times 2.5. So we have 2.5k. So now we need to do a one-step equation to solve for k. And since we're multiplying here, we're going to divide because that's the inverse operation. So we're going to divide by 2.5, divide by 2.5. So let's go ahead and do the math over here. So we're going to do 40 divided by 2.5. So first of all, I need to move my decimal place 1 over because we can't have any decimals out here. So we're going to have 25 divided by 400. So 25 goes into 40. It goes in one time. And so we're going to subtract. Alright, and 25 goes into 150 6 times. And you'll get 150, subtract, and get 0. So this shows us that k is equal to 16. Alright, now let's go ahead and look at this word problem. The main thing that people struggle with when it comes to word problems is not knowing what to pull out. But in this specific case, we are talking about ratios and stuff, so we're going to be looking for some relationships going on between numbers. So it says Salvador can run 120 meters in 24 seconds. At this rate, how many seconds will it take him to run a 300-meter race? So first of all, right away I see a relationship. We have 120 meters in 24 seconds. So that is one relationship here. So we have 120 meters is equal to 24 seconds. Now, one thing I know is that if I'm going to come up with a proportion, then we are going to have meters in the numerator over here and seconds in the denominator over here. So now let's go ahead and keep reading on to see if we can pick out these other two parts. So it says, at this rate, how many seconds? So right now I just see it says how many seconds. So that tells me I do not know how many seconds we have. So that's going to be our variable. How many seconds will it take him to run 300 meters? So that's our last part. So 300 meters. So the part that we know for sure is that he can run 120 meters in 24 seconds. And we want to know how long is it going to take him to run 300 meters. So we're going to go ahead and use the cross product methods to be able to figure out this missing variable. So first of all, we're going to do x times 120. So we're going to have 120x is equal to 300 times 24. 24. So what I did here was just took 24 times 3 and then I added the 2 zeros once I did the math. That just makes it a little bit quicker. Okay, so we have 7,200. And now let's go ahead and solve for our variable. We're going to divide by 120 on both sides. Remember, we have to divide because that's the inverse operation of multiplying. We're going to cancel that out and get x is equal to. So we're going to cancel out those zeros so we have less to have to multiply. So we're going to do 720 divided by 12. So 12 goes into 72 6 times. And that'll give us 72. Get 0, 0. So we're going to have x is equal to 60. But you do not want to just say x is equal to 60 or just 60. Because that doesn't make sense. Because we're talking about a word problem. And we're using other words and units to make it make sense. So 60 is just a random number. It could be 60 lollipops. It could be 60 anything. So we're going to go ahead and make it make sense by writing it kind of in a phrase. So basically he can run, we're going to write, he can run 300 meters in 60 seconds. And the reason why we know that is because of our proportion. So he can run 300 meters in 60 seconds. Alright, as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and rewind the video, watch it all again, or watch parts of it again, or just watch one example. You know, it's all up to you of what you know and what you don't know. It's up to you to try to figure that out. And you can also go ahead and go back into your textbooks. There's some odd numbered questions that have answers in the back of the book if you want to try a few. There's also some examples that have already been done for you. And as always, bring your questions to class and I'll be happy to answer them. Let's go ahead and do some on your own questions. Alright, you have 4 problems to do for me. Number 1, 2 adults for 10 children and 3 adults for 12 children. Go ahead and tell me if it's proportional and tell me why. Please do not leave off the why. Number 2, 5 over 6 is equal to t over 18. Find t. Number 3, 3 over n equals 2.7 or 2 n 7/10 over 18. Solve for n. And number 4, orange juice is on sale at 3 half gallons for $5. At this rate, find the cost of 5 half gallons of orange juice. Round to the nearest cent. Alright, good luck. We'll see what you get tomorrow.